Finally guys, we are already here from Los Angeles, California, here at this event called the Electronic Entertainment Expo, that is, E3, where all the developer producers got together. Everything that has to do with video games is here and the most fun too.
Don't move from there.
Well, if the star is finally over, we are at the fabulous E3 here in Los Angeles and we are going to see everything Nintendo is offering us. The new, the sequels, the best, well anyway, you are going to see it with your own eyes and then we are going to begin.
Today we have surprises and more surprises. That's what awaits you today at Nintendo Mania. The most important event in the field of video games, E3. We bring it to you in great detail, right down to your screen. Get to know a little more about the new Zelda game that you already knew, but also find out what you didn't even imagine, Dinosaur Planet.
The Game Boy Color also has a range of new games, not to be missed.
Enjoy every moment. Let's start.
Vamos!
And I already found the best of E3.
My friend Catwoman. It isn't true. No, it's not true.
Well, yes that's true, but shush.
I'm at the Ubisoft booth. Over there is Konami.
Over there is Capcom. They're all over there.
That's where Rare goes. Over there is Nintendo.
There is everything.
And right now we're going to be seeing everything just for you, here in Los Angeles. My glasses fell off since E3, let's go.
Well, that's right. We already have the E3 report for you, but as you know there isn't that much time to do it in one go. But how about a quick tour of what you'll be able to see on this and upcoming shows? The first thing was the press conference where our friend Peter Main gave us an overview of Nintendo's plans for the remainder of this year and also next year. But what do you think? That Nintendo decided not to release the Dolphin for this year. But we are going to explain this to you in more detail later, and it is not the only hardware that is covered in its launch for 2001. It is also about the new portable system called Game Boy Advance, which is going to be delayed. And also, they commented that the first thing that is shown of these systems will be until the next Space World in August.
I mean, it really isn't that much anymore.
And obviously we will be there to bring you this information. Okay. Not everything has launched in 2001, since Nintendo showed its line of games for the Nintendo 64 and those are from this year and these are Perfect Dark that will undoubtedly far surpass its predecessor GoldenEye and boy was this quite a lot well. It has everything to achieve it. Also here between us it looked better than the prototype we saw on our last trip to Nintendo of America about 2 or 3 months ago. Then The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Finally more images of Link's return and it is in a game that gets a lot of juice out of the expansion pack and it shows in the graphics a very enigmatic story with a totally new game mechanics as we tell you where you only have 3 days to prevent the moon from crashing into Banjo-Tooie Land. A title that many of us thought was threatened by the upcoming Dolphin outing so, finally, Gruntilda escapes to take revenge in a game that shows an evolution that improves what was already quite good. Here you will have better textures, Dolby surround sound and also something very interesting extra such as the new mini-games for 4 players. The attention of all the public is Pokemon, with such marketing and the 3 new games that it is going to release that are the gold and silver of Pokemon and Puzzle League. But hey, I better tell you right now returning from the commercials.
muestra el que sigue.
Dinosaur Planet. The great surprise of Rare that left us really surprised, since they are very advanced. It is an epic adventure where the new heroes Saber and Crystal are introduced. The graphics show even greater mastery from our Rare folks with real-time effects and the voices. Wow, he has great voices but wholesale. Also very good animation of the faces of each of the characters. Nikki's Speedway USA. This is for lovers of speed or for fans of Disney characters or well, for both. It has excellent mobility with the experience in Diddy Kong Racing. This game is looking great on them and well, it doesn't end here everything. There are many more surprises. But what do you think if we go back with Ale, who has more details about a woman who is already an icon in video games?
It was time for the female gender to have more strength in video games. And Joanna Dark is our new heroine in Perfect Dark.
With Joanna,
The one woman who makes Lara Croft look like a Girl Scout has arrived. Her name is Joanna Dark and her mission is to investigate the mega company Data that seems to be carrying out somewhat suspicious activities. This super game uses the same GoldenEye engine as its base, that is, its basic programming, but of course it has endless improvements that are to blame for the crushing of the game up to now. But hey, Rare has managed to create a game that you won't be able to put down, because as you go on things get more confusing and the action intensifies, forcing you to join the fans of Perfect Dark. And we are not exaggerating when we tell you that this game lives up to its name because everything is perfect, the mobility, the graphics and even Johanna. Oh, what did you put it? We clarify that the game can be used without the expansion pack, but this is not recommended as you will miss out on the best of the game. By the way, mark your calendar once and for all, May 22 is the launch. Going back to the game, you have real-time effects and look. The version we saw at E3 stood out even more than the last time we saw a prototype. The artificial intelligence is very well detailed and will test your skill. And now we don't even talk about the multiplayer mode because it would be a note just to explain how good the encounters are. Well guys, unfortunately we couldn't see anything about the Game Boy Advance or the Dolphin, but in return, many games were presented for the Nintendo 64. Lots of surprises like Eternal Darkness, Dinosaur Planner, Conquer Bad 4 Day and well, various things. There are also quite interesting things for the Game Boy, but we'll be seeing it in a little while. Let's see what's next, because it's great.
come on.
My name is Crystal.
I know that you, like us, wanted to see something of the Dolphin, but no way. Nintendo in return showed us some surprises that are obviously still under development, but will be out later this year. And they will certainly be great games, like Pokemon.
That proves your mental agility.
Or what about one of the games we thought wouldn't make it to America? Well, that one is here and it's called Hey You Pikachu. The first game of voice recognition. And it is that the Pokemon phenomenon is stronger than ever. Imagine that 4 of the Pokemon games that are already on sale are bestsellers and obviously the number 1 is Pokemon Stadium, and wait a bit because the new Pokemon movie is coming, which will make these characters even more popular. And Pokemon Gold and Silver together with the new Pokemon Pikachu 2GS and the Game Boy Color are supporting it in an extraordinary way with Donkey Kong Country type hits. But hey, I'm already getting ahead of it. Better let's go with Javier to see what awaits us in the system quintessential laptop.
Pues les traemos más información del E3.
As you can see here at the top is the count of how many Game Boys are being sold worldwide or how many have been sold. Little by little the quantity is not thick. But hey, soon we will be giving you a list of all the new games that are being presented. But the one that attracts the most attention is Metal Gear Solid. That is, you have to keep an eye on all of them because they are very good.
Okay, let's get right into what Nintendo presented for the Game Boy Color, the portable system that has been dominating the market for more than 11 years since the Taby model that it wants in black and white. Do you remember? Well, the first title that we present to you is Wario Land 3. That's right. This character returns with new action and challenges, without forgetting that his games always contain secrets that make you think, very puzzle style. In this new game, Wario was absorbed by a strange world which has 25 gigantic levels and still maintains the mechanic of acquiring new skills with which you can discover new worlds. Well guys, we're still here since E3, but we have 4 great games on our hands. We have Kirby the Crystal Shards, Banjo-Tooie, Zelda's Majora's Mask, and Conker's Bad Fur Day.
What would you give to have these great games? Well, the bad thing is that they go out until winter, which is the end of the year, but don't worry because they will be very good.
Imagine being able to have these 2 in your hands to start your collection, which now has 250 Pokemon, Pigeon and Silver. But well, since they are still going to have to wait a little bit, we leave you with these exclusive images.
What courage not to be able to have these games sooner.
But hey, we already show you the boxes of the hits of the coming months.
We continue with the list of Nintendo's 64 games that Nintendo obviously presented. Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. After so long, it's finally ready. The version of Kirby for the Nintendo 64 where again our round hero spends copying the powers of more than 50 enemies to advance on the 6 planets that the game has. StarCraft 64 is synonymous with real-time strategy, one of the most famous games for its high sales in its PC version, makes its appearance in its exclusive version for the Nintendo 64 with new missions and powers that are specially designed for this system. We also saw Paper Mario, which used to be called Mario RPG 2, remember? Well, they already changed the name and it was perfect for them, don't you think? Well, it's a game that combines 3-dimensional worlds with characters in a markedly 2D way, where you live a mystical adventure in the Mushroom Kingdom, with classic Nintendo characters like Princess Peach, Luigi and Bowser, without forgetting the Goombas, Bobo and BS and everyone else. With Mario Tennis, Nintendo continues to take care of its sports line and proves that this is the new version of the wipe sport for the Nintendo 64, where up to 4 players face each other simultaneously and Mario and the whole gang have a great time with all the movements that count the game. But a new anti-hero also joins, but we'll see that later. There is also Excitebike 64 and well, okay, this game is already on sale, but it was also shown at E3 and this new version that brings to life a classic from the NES times is sensational. Seeing how they take a basic idea to amazing 3-dimensional worlds with great realism and a challenge that you can't stop checking out is the best. A game that is being programmed by Nintendo and Silicon Knights is Eternal Darkness, which combines action and adventure in a game where you travel through time and find yourself involved in battles from medieval times, and you can also be in modern times with military machines. And the camera angles will make you feel like you are in a movie. In short, it is a gem and you cannot miss the information that we will give you in future programs. Well, what about Conker's Bad Fur Day? Well, here we can only tell you that it has nothing to do with what you knew about this game. It is totally another concept, and to give you an idea of the magnitude of the change, imagine that now it is not a game for all ages. That's how thick our character Conker got.
Yes, he's in a mature rated game.
the Game Boy Color version is going to take a little bit longer, around September 11. As you can see, Rare demonstrates its superiority even in the 8-bit system, taking full advantage of its qualities, since it will be compatible with the Game Link, the Game Boy printer, and of course with the infrared port now. Donkey Kong Country. Nintendo's Star Primate moves to the Game Boy Color and brings with it all the fun and challenge of the Super Nintendo version, since with this game they achieve excellent translation with new qualities. Crystallize, from the developers of Ridge Racer 64, now surprises us with an RPG based on the legendary version. Of course, we are talking about Crystallis, but this time they are using the qualities of the Game Boy Color, and a voice is enough to show. That's right, it has digitized voices. Well, there are more Game Boy titles that we will see in more detail, such as Warlock, a real-time strategy game, Pocket Soccer. Great. I guess you know what game it is. The Little Mermaid. This is in version 2, Pinball Frenzy, a pinball game linked to the famous Disney Mermaid, and more titles including one from Capcom. But we'll see that later. Javier, tell us a little about what happened yesterday at the first convention.
What happened is that there was a Nintendo press conference where they gave release dates for several games. For example, Pokemon Puzzle League, which is a game, as well as a Pong Panero. Later we are going to present it well. A gold and silver version from Pokemon. This, well, also Perfect Dark. So that you are watching this program in theaters that has already come out. Maybe it's about to come out, but good for us to keep talking.
Well, yes. Well, here Donnie is also super excited. She already believes a lot because right now she has an appointment with nothing more, nothing less than Acclaim. But Donnie,
I have to go with Acclaim right now to see the new games they are preparing for the Nintendo 64 and the Game Boy Color. In the meantime, I'll leave you with the best of F3.
Let's go.
The truth is that Pikachu doesn't occupy my Pokeball, so that's why it's here. It doesn't want to enter a Pokeball. And we are super excited because we have already seen many Pokemon games where Pikachu appears, like Hey You Pikachu, where you speak and it understands everything with the microphone, which is the voice recognition system that Nintendo is going to introduce to the market very soon. American and Pikachu is jumping, and we're going to jump with Pikachu at the same rate that we're going to see what's next. Let's see.
well, in this E3 the sensation was undoubtedly Pokemon 2000. Well, but first of all you may be wondering, what is Pokemon 2000? Input is the title of the new film that will be released next summer. But in reality, Pokemon 2000 contains a whole concept thinking of the most important thing, the gamer, who has adopted these creatures as part of his life. And to start with, October 16 will be a date you won't forget, with the launch of Pokemon Gold and Silver, which just 5 weeks after its release in Japan sold more than 5 million cartridges. Imagine, this is equivalent to something like 100 cartridges being sold every minute, and 16 cartridges being sold every 10 seconds, something unprecedented in history. And in America a similar response is expected for this pair of games.
Continuing within the Pokemon 2000, we find that same day Pokemon Gold and Silver will not arrive alone, since the successor of the Pokemon Pikachu will accompany them. Which, in case you do not remember, it is that little device that you put on your waist, and when you walk you accumulate watts to later give them to the Pikachu that lives inside. Only unlike the original Pokemon Pikachu 2GS, it will be in full color, and it is no coincidence that it will be released simultaneously with the Gold and Silver cartridges, because it will be a complement to these games. But we will do that to see later.
Well then, why does it keep attracting attention here in this Nintendo booth? But let's go with more information about this game.
What coincided with E3 was Excitebike 64. Just keep an eye on one of these images so you can see how it exploits the capabilities of the Nintendo 64. No, we are not wrong. What happens is that since you surely did not know the original Excitebike with everything in its track editor, Nintendo decided to include it as one of the many secret bonuses.
To remove it you need.
No, we'd better leave that for another day. But what we can tell you is that the motocross action was perfectly captured in its 3 main game modes through the 6 expert pilots who will compete for victory on more than 20 tracks. Ah, Without forgetting the track editor, which let us tell you is sensational. Well, what can I tell you?
You are already seeing it with your own eyes, and don't leave because we are going to continue with more from Los Angeles, California, exclusively for Nintendo Mania.
And we're going to be here with NFL Blitz 2001.
Oh, I already knew, I knew. Don't get excited, girls. Did you know that this strong little boy is underage? Get out of there. We continue. You go?
Wow.
Get out of there. We go to you.
Surely you know, or at least have heard of the Pokemon card game. Well, this concept was brought to the Game Boy through Pokemon trading cards. At first glance, the game plays out in a very similar way to the original, visiting towns and training centers. However, what changes is that the battles are carried out by means of cards and, as in any game of this type, luck will play a very important factor. This title is already on sale and soon we will review it in detail.
Continuing with more than 2,000 Pokemon, on November 20 you will be able to play Pokemon Puzzle League, both for the Game Boy Color and the Nintendo 64. This title is based on what for our taste is one of the best puzzles that have come out. I mean Tetris Attack, here in America, or Paneru Deepon, in Japan, a legacy that Gunpei Yokoi left us. The joke here is to line up at least 3 pieces of the same type in any direction to disintegrate them. Sounds easy, but the important thing is that you arrange several to execute the combos and create chain effects, either against the CPU or a friend. Without a doubt, one of the most addictive games that exist with all the magic of Pokemon. One game that we thought would never reach our continent was Pikachu Genki Dashu, especially because of the language barrier. But on November 6 it will arrive with a new name, Hey You Pikachu. This game will literally blow your mind as it was the first to incorporate voice recognition technology on the Nintendo 64.
How's that? Well, what happens is that to interact with Pikachu you're going to have to talk to him. That's right, by means of a microphone that is included, you have to indicate the appropriate actions at each level. The most curious thing is that the more you play it, you and Pikachu will understand each other better. So much so that you're going to become attached to him as if he really existed. So hit your English classes hard, finally you still have a little time.
Well, without a doubt, one of the sequels that he is most looking forward to is Banjo-Tooie, where, well, we are going to see characters that we have already seen, like Banjo, like Kazooie. And what is rumored here within this great event is that Mumbo is going to have a role. Important this time in this video game, so you know, wait for it. The guy who started this endless quest is back in Banjo-Tooie, with dozens of new characters, puzzles to solve, mini-games, and a ton of things to find. Anyway, as with all of its sequels since the Battletoads days, Rare hasn't settled for little, and with Banjo-Tooie it's creating a new standard of quality for the 3D platforming category. Nintendo's VP Peter Main has been heard from. Now Banjo and Kazooie can act separately or together as required. And as an additional character, you will control Mumbo Jumi. Divided into 8 huge levels, on the Island of Oaks, our 2 heroes will have to make the most of their more than 40 abilities to face 10 bosses. And in the end they will come face to face again with Gruntilda. All this from August 28. No, Javier, you already stayed in the past. Conker is no longer cute, now Conker is a...
Okay.
Conker has had a bad night and now with everything in hangover. He will experience his worst day at Conker's bad fur day. Irreverent, mocking, sarcastic and always looking for fun, that's Conker.
Rare has designed an endless number of facial expressions for this character, ranging from pain, pleasure, to the most vulgar attitudes.
Missing in action is what possibly happened to Conker, who has entered the competition with the South Park characters. Hard to see who is the most foul-mouthed. In Conker's Bat for Day, this squirrel has left subtleties behind to become a full-action hero. Talking will make you blush.
Acting will leave you square-eyed and ready to hook up with whatever liner stands in the way of becoming your favorite hero. Just to give you an idea of what you will find, the names of some scenes will be as follows: riding a talking orca outside the barn, hanging outside near a giant sunflower, reading the reading lesson in the burning beaver bookstore in the depths of hell. Well, we really can't wait for it to arrive on December 4, because the truth is that it's going to be great.
Well, now your Pikachu also comes in color, and don't think it's the only thing in Pokemon Fever, because you'll also be able to interact with your Pokemon Silver and Gold. You know, more than one reason not to move from here.
The time has come to explain to you why Pokemon Pikachu 2DS is an add-on for Pokemon Gold and Zebra. First of all, this little gadget has film transistor technology to display colors on a liquid crystal screen like the Game Boy Color to bring new Pikachu animations to life. And just like the original, it has a step counter and a mini-game. But the difference that makes it so special is that you can exchange information from the Pokemon Pikachu to the Pokemon Gold and Silver, thus giving you endless possibilities. And while we're talking about these games, apart from the much talked about appearance of new Pokemon, the dynamics of the game is very similar to the previous ones, obviously with new areas to explore, new Pokemon masters to face, and also new attacks. But how much did you not expect that it had an internal clock that determined the passage of day and night, which is going to give you practically two radically different visions of the territory? The classic evolutions are back, but for the first time you will have the opportunity to see new Pokemons being born, just as you hear it. To achieve this, you will need to form a pair of male and female Pokemons, and nature will take care of the rest. If you add to that they are 100% compatible with previous versions of Pokemon, the battles will be anthology.
Well, this is just talking about the Gold and Silver version, but apart from that, Pokemon Pikachu 2 can be related to the Game Boy Color and these games through the infrared sensor.
Because, well, we are going to talk about that later because it is very complex, but the truth is very interesting. You keep checking the rest.
The Ready to Rumble, which is called Round 2 and is being presented here at E3, and while you check the images, I am going to learn a little here about techniques of what I am going to be in charge of teaching. Are you ready for a second round of Ready to Rumble?
Because that's what Midway is preparing for November in two versions, either to take it everywhere on your Game Boy Color or to enjoy it alone as the Nintendo 64 can achieve it, without leaving out any of the elements of the original in Ready to Rumble Round 2. It includes 12 new boxers with spectacular moves and combos and 3 levels of Rumble Flourish. Add to that a revamped tournament mode and practice with toy sparring partners, and the last thing on your mind is compassion. Well, are you really prepared for such brutality?
Well, guys, here I'm playing a little bit of this super game that is Donkey Kong Country, but it's not for the Super Nintendo, it's for the Game Boy Color, and we're seeing it here at E3 along with a lot of other things that we're going to be watching a little later. You keep watching. Donkey Kong Country is going to be very soon in your pocket with the Game Boy Color. Let's go to what's next.
What stops surprising us? The truth is that we do not believe it, and it is that when we had the idea of having seen everything for a system, these guys show us how wrong we were. First they did it on the Super Nintendo, and now they do it on the Game Boy Color and with the same game. I mean Donkey Kong Country, the game that redefined the platform era, is masterfully brought into your pocket with absolutely everything. Graphics, levels, characters, and so surprise new bonus minigames for 1 or 2 players via cable line. Well, and not for everyone there, because if you own a Game Boy printer you will have the chance to print a super collection of exclusive stickers of these characters. Now tell me, what more could you ask for?
It really caught our attention because it has a very impressive option in my opinion, because what you have to do is finish the game in 3 days, that is, in 72 hours for the game to finish. But well, this is because thanks to the Ocarina of Time, everything will be possible because the truth is very difficult to finish it like this in 3 days. But hey, what also caught our attention is the variety of games, bosses and above all the masks because there are so many, there are around 24, plus the 3 that you can wear, which are Sora's, Goron's and the of Deku. Aside from the fact that it is like that they give you 3 other players because for example if you take out Sora's instead of playing the ocarina he plays a guitar. It is very curious but good. Above all we have to keep checking this game because the truth is that we are already going to beat this boss.
Something that has characterized the different titles of the Zelda series is that they impact you from the introduction sequence. Or what did you feel the first time you saw Link ride on Epona? This was under the moonlight in the field of Hyrule to later witness a mysterious scene where Link and Naboru were attacked by a pair of twin witches called Twin Roba. Disconcerting would be the appropriate word, but for you to prepare for the next chapter, just check out these images from the introduction of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, where we see Link sitting peacefully in different places along with other characters known as the Carpenters and a Goron who looks like a caster. But apparently when night comes everything will change thanks to this new character called Star Kids who has one of the mysterious masks in his possession. Could it be Majora's? To find out, stay tuned to Nintendo Mania where we'll keep you up to date on this highly anticipated title.
Pero mientras vamos a ver unos pequeños comerciales.
Less than Mario Tennis, he makes his first appeal, or Luigi, which is more or less, if it doesn't sound like Wario to you, but now Luigi's. This game is being developed by Camelot, which are the same as the Mario Golf game. None of them are specializing in the issue of sports, and they are doing well. I just played a little game of tennis right now to check the maneuverability, and the truth is very very good. But why don't you stay while I check the graphs and I go back to play?
Since a simple Italian plumber would become an athlete. Putting aside the golf clubs and grabbing a racket, Mario has decided to give Andrea Agassi a run for his money in Mario Tennis 64.
The string will never be the same after Mario and 15 other stars, including Waluigi, do their thing. Something that has characterized most sports games is the complexity of the controls, but thanks to Camelot the game interface is so intuitive that from the first moment you will feel at ease whether you are playing singles or doubles. Taking up some Mario Golf properties adapted to tennis, range shots will be back in 3 categories with slight variations. Developed on fields within the Mushroom Kingdom, you can play either alone or with up to 3 friends in one of the best multiplayer games we've ever seen. Whether you are an expert or not, tickets and services will be waiting for you from September 25.
Habían salido muchísimos rumores, noticias, etcétera, etcétera, pero por fin.
Finally the new voice recognition system in the Hey You Pikachu game is here in America. Well, what can I tell you about this game? The truth is that it is the best that has been seen right now, because not only are the commands in the controls, but you can now interact through your voice, obviously with the game. Well, I could go on talking more about this topic, but I'd rather have him talk to Pikachu.
I mean, let's play. It's just one of the many phrases that Pikachu will say in a U.
Pikachu.
The question is, what are you going to answer? You are going to have to do this through the microphone that is included, because exactly speaking it will be the way to communicate with him, to play with him. As with a real pet, the first thing you will do is earn his trust to later help him with various tasks. But be careful what you say since our friend is a bit temperamental and if he gets angry or sad, apart from disobeying you, the truth is that he can leave. This game is mainly focused on the little ones who, through various activities such as fishing, collecting food or looking for treasures, will learn the value of friendship, cooperation and team activities. But don't go with the faint and say, that's not for me. On the contrary, we who already played it in its original version, entertained ourselves like few times and that was in Japanese. And since we're on the subject of language, even though it's true that Pikachu only understands English in this AU Pikachu game, don't worry if you don't speak it perfectly, because apart from a few short phrases on many occasions with a simple yes or you will not understand you. Do not forget that it is like a pet, or little by little you speak to your dog with very complex vocabulary so that it obeys you. Now it's just a matter of waiting until November 6th for you to adopt him.
At the E3 Electronic Entertainment Expo, we are already presenting you a very interesting game, which is Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. That it is a game still very prototype, that we do not know how long it will take to finish it. But above all, what is most striking about this game is that Factor 5 deals with the dolphin system. And it is the technique that they are using for this game. That is, there are some very interesting changes to what is in the Nintendo 64 system with this. Well, it is a bit too general, but when we have more information, be sure that they will tell you. We are going to give here in Nintendo Mania, because remember that the dolphin occupies a very special technique as well as the one we are seeing in this game. That is, you cannot lose the tag. It says everything, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, with all the action and intrigue of the trilogy created by Lucas and Spielberg.
For a change, Indy is thrown into a frantic search to locate the mysterious Infernal Machine. The game begins when the CIA obtains evidence that a Russian psychic has located the site of the Tower of Babel. And inside it were found evidence of an ancient machine that opens the doors to a parallel dimension known as Aetherium. And you know, Indy has to manage to first locate the parts of this machine around the world and prevent the bad guys from getting ahead of him. Created by LucasArts and Factor 5, it is a guarantee that they will take the Nintendo 64 further than we thought.
The Cureback Club 2001. Well, this is a very realistic game, because from all the games, well, from all this series, real data has been taken to go, as I will tell you, making the game more modern, and above all the animation responds to your control. Because the animation itself is very fluid, and that's why when responding with your control it makes an excellent game. Well, apart from that, as I was saying, the data is newer, that is, from the new season and things like that, but above all the plays that you make now are easier because, for example, in the last strong backflip it was very difficult to control, but above all in this one, the simplicity to play it makes it much more fun. That is, you are going to buy it easily because look, for example, before it was very difficult catch a ball, but now alone, that is, it's just a little bit of practice and you're going to achieve a game that this game is excellent for you. Well, we will continue reporting later.
For the 2001 NFL season, we don't know that, but what we do know for sure is that in NFL Quarterback 2001, you're going to be the one who decides who makes it to the Super Bowl. Something that you made us notice through your letters was that the complexity of the controls in the previous version was such that the truth made it sometimes frustrating, but Acclaim already assured us that this will not happen again. Apart from the usual player and stat updates, we included the ability to save replays of your spectacular plays, the simulation of crucial plays in each of the Super Bowls played, and the use of a button to break tackles on the run, among several more. Without obviously neglecting the classic options to customize your players and the exhaustiveness in terms of playbooks. Well, all of this is making sure we have an unforgettable football season.
The little commercials. That? Surprise, no more Mario RPG. Now it's called Paper Mario. Well, you can figure out where the name comes from if you check the graphs, which are kind of flat.
Well, but the best RPG game that we are going to introduce is Ogre Battle. Because apart from being such a great RPG game from medieval or epic times, it has more than 300 megabytes of memory, that is, more than Zelda. Imagine, how do you see Ale?
Well, I don't doubt that Overworld is very cool, but the truth is that Paper Mario takes it. I think the characters are much better. Well, we all love Mario more, right?
Well, but I mean, if you want a bit more direction for an RPG, Don't hesitate to buy this game. It's still missing but, well, it's going to be very good.
But for the better, you decide and don't stop checking the program.
Quick discussions. Better tell us, Ale, what did you like the most about Mario Paper?
Well, look, I think it goes without saying that the graphics are incredible because they make it look like one of those books in which the characters stand up. And besides, well, you can move them like in Yoshi's Story. Only here it happens not only in the presentation but in the whole game. Besides, something that I loved was the simplicity of the menus when it came to fighting. And look, from the little that I was able to play, the story looks very good and not easy at all. Since there were even some somewhat complicated puzzles. And best of all, it comes out the day after Christmas, so if you want to put it in your letter, I advise you to behave once and for all. And you, do you know what you can tell us about Over Battle 64?
Well, let me tell you that there are many guys who like a bit more serious games, and Ogre Battle is an RPG with strategy elements that really make it unique. The truth is that there are many fans of this series from the Super Nintendo, and here we find everything that fascinates us. For example, huge maps full of sorcerer monsters and mythological beings. But hey, all this raised to the 10th power by telling you that even a tutorial has to don't make balls with all the menus. And well, and now that we have heard these two opinions, which one do you prefer? It is an excellent game and it has 512 megabytes and with voice compression technology that is full of voices, full of videos in real time, and the two main characters are totally charismatic. So we are going to continue to see a little more of what we are going through here at E3 for you. Let's go. Past. Rare took us to the future in Jet Force Gemini, and now we are taken to time indefinite with creatures from the past in the Dinosaur Planet game. The big surprise that Rare gave us is undoubtedly this super game, since after knowing absolutely nothing about the game, they show a very, very advanced prototype. And well, not like the first time we saw Perfect Dark or Jet Force Gemini, where the first thing we saw was just a good video, because with Dinosaur Planet things changed since we were able to play it and realize the mastery of the Rare programmers to create a game that takes the best of its latest releases and combines it with new technology such as voice compression. Since the game has an endless number of voices, and just imagine that it has 512 megabytes of memory. Also very well used. Very well used, and is that it is also an epic adventure where there are two new heroes that are Faber and Crystal, and as in Conquer Bad Fool Day, special emphasis was placed on their faces to express emotions with sensational animation. There are more than 50 new characters. Imagine yourself in. They are finally detailing it to the degree that we do not doubt that it is one of the best games for the Nintendo 64 in all of history.
Undoubtedly an incredible phenomenon that has caused emotion and has thousands of fans and followers is Star Wars. And let me tell you that his fame is not only limited to the movie, that although it has been released for a long time, in the video game, well, it will be said that it is still in the prototype and that it needs work and that it will take time. A while. But here at E3 we already have a little taste of what Star Wars Episode 1 Battle for Naboo is going to be, so you know. We'll have it in a bit and you won't miss it if you're a Star Wars fan. Are you already looking forward to Star Wars Episode 2? Well, so do we. But while you wait, better take control of Star Wars Episode 1, Battle for Naboo for your Nintendo 64 and aboard a non-starfighter. Assume the role of Lieutenant Gavin Sky to defend the peaceful inhabitants of Enderwood, totally attached to the film and taking the best of the Rock Squadron. Live this intense adventure full of new ships, characters and settings created exclusively by LucasArts and Factor 5. The only thing left for us to say is that the Force is with you this fall, because we believe you will need it.
They pass in vain, and not even Bruce Wayne has managed to escape the inexorable passage of time.
What's that inexorable, Bruce? Let's see, explain yourself.
I don't know, but it sounds pretty cool. Unfortunately, the evil has not stopped, so it is necessary for Batman to be reborn. Under Bruce's tutelage, the chosen one is Terry McGinnis, who will breathe new life into the caped in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, made by Ken Koch for both the Game Boy Color and the Nintendo 64. We don't know how he did it, but the joke is that the Joker is back and has taken over the Gotham City Aerospace Research Center, and to put him in his place you will have to go through 4 gigantic levels divided into various locations full of creatures developed under engineering genetics. According to rumors, in the end you will find out the true personality of the Joker. The bad thing is that we will have to wait until October to discover all the mysteries that surround Batman Beyond.
Well, do you remember that this game was announced since it was going to come out on Nintendo 64? Really, the concept of Kirby, of what it was before and what it is now, has changed. Because Kirby returns to the NES, to the Super NES, but in a third-dimensional environment. And I think it's a game that's going to be worth it, because here I asked the kids who are playing what they thought and they just told me, it's cool. Everyone's darling Rose is back on an adventure all to himself in Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards. Keeping the style of his previous adventures to the fullest, Hal brings him back in his most dazzling adventure yet. Flying, floating, rolling or swimming, Kirby and his friends will fight bravely to save the fairy kingdom from the dark forces. Divided into 6 planets with 4 scenes each and bosses waiting for you at the end. You will have to locate the pieces of a magical crystal before an evil force takes over it. Kirby continues to absorb his enemies to obtain their powers, only now he can combine them to give endless possibilities. And being the founder of the minigames, obviously they couldn't be missing here for you to have fun with your friends. HAL did get a star with this title that will finally arrive on the very next June 26.
For you maniacs who like suspense games like that and who loved Resident Evil 2, we have Resident Evil 0, an exclusive game for Nintendo 64, check it out.
Has it ever happened to you that when watching a movie you wanted to find out what happened before, for example, like in Star Wars? Well, that's what Capcom has planned in the super exclusive Resident Evil 0 game for the Nintendo 64. In this prequel you are going to find out what happened in July 1998, exactly 1 day before the terrible events in Raccoon City with which this whole series begins. Apart from including all the features that make you jump scared all the time, Capcom is developing something very special called the Real-Time Zap System, which is something like a real-time change system. And this consists of the possibility of controlling 2 characters simultaneously, but each one in different locations or in the same one according to that need. But beware, because if you neglect one and it's eliminated, bye-bye, and you'll have to start the level all over again. What will Rebecca Chambers and Billy Coyne discover in the Aclay Mountains? Will they survive to tell the tale? Well, it's just a matter of waiting until next fall for terror to knock on your door.
It looked like Resident Evil 2, but right now we're looking at Mega Man 64 and... well, we are going to present you some exclusive images for Nintendo Mania.
We have very good news for you, but before we tell you, first answer the following questions. Which Mega Man adventure do you think is the best? We believe that it was Mega Man X, since in it we saw the evolution of Mega Man leaving behind his archenemy Drive. Willie to face Sigma. Would you like to play it again but with 2 new characters? Well, imagine a new ally named Midi and Techno joining Sigma. What would you think if instead of being 8 Maverick Hunters there were 10? It would be amazing, don't you think? And a second challenge when you manage to finish it? That sounds like something incredible and still good if all this were portable. Because this and more is what Capcom has programmed for you in the not-so-distant month of October in Mega Man X exclusively for your Game Boy Color. Did you want more? Oh, and we almost forgot. Capcom announced the release of another game that might catch your eye. Its name is Mega Man 64.
Yeah.
You heard right. You're not dreaming. It's official. Mega Man will arrive this year on Nintendo 64 with an unimaginable challenge and in 3rd dimension. Now yes, you can't ask for more.
They are back. In the Zoopsware? Well, we already know that you have no idea who they are, unless you're kind of cranky, right, Gus?
You'll see, it's not me.
But hey, to locate you, this was a very popular television series in the early 80s and it was about Bo and Luke accompanied by Daisy.
Oh, wait for me. Daisy was a super liner.
Yes, Booze, I know, but that was not the point. The point was, they kept running from the not-so-nice Booze Hawk aboard the General Lee. And this is the same thing that you will do in the Dukes of Hazzard Racing for home on board your Game Boy Color. Whether in mission, race or tank triad, you will have to look very avid to avoid all the traps and dangers that could harm General Lee. Undoubtedly a title full of action, persecution and nostalgia that South Peak will bring us in a very short time, so Boots, stay tuned.
Well, we're still here at E3 at Midway in the Midway booth and we find a game that is very original in terms of racing and speed. Look, it's neither 2001, nor 2000, nor 2010. It's 2049 in San Francisco Rush.
A game that is really excellent.
Because look, it has a wide variety of cars, tracks, options. Well, let's go part by part. The tracks are great because there is a great variety, apart from the fact that there are many shortcuts, which makes it much more interesting. Well, then there are the cars that also have a great variety, which are all the cars that you had in San Francisco Rush and they were transferred to this game that is really cool. Well, we continue with the 4-player option, which is really very good, because apart from the fact that it doesn't lose speed, you feel with the Rumble Pack a feeling like that, well, more than not a very good feeling, that only in this game you can define, because the truth is that what I like the most are the shortcuts and the shortcuts are what make it more interesting. A game of speed that really makes you feel, well, as I will tell you, as well as unfocused because you don't know which shortcut is best for you more, but hey, we have to keeping an eye on this game that is 85% complete and we have to keep checking it. That is, we continue.
Straight from the arcades, Midway will bring us its mega hit San Francisco Rush 2049. The legendary San Francisco Rush series is taken into the future, with 19 new tracks, 7 game modes, 13 futuristic vehicles complete with spoilers included for spectacular stunts and compatibility with the expansion pack, controller pack and rumble pack. All this make it something to look forward to. Apart from all this, a totally new concept was added in this series, which is the battle mode with tons of weapons to hit your opponents in the tower. The game promises to become quite an event when it reaches your hands in September. Don't miss it.
Well, we're still here from E3. Sports games on the Nintendo 64, ranging from the classics like soccer, basketball, baseball, to the most extreme like hydrocross.
Coinciding with the start of the next NFL season, Midway will take us to the field in the unique style of NFL Blitz 2001. Without officials, without rules, without mercy, brute force is the only thing that will prevail as previous versions of NFL Blitz have accustomed us. With 4 new stadiums, new animations, new minigames, new traps and the possibility of multiplayer in season mode, well, the game obviously looks incredible if you add to this the option to create an entire team. NFL Blitz 2001 has surpassed all our expectations.
Encargados de Turok 3 y de toda la serie de Turok, que es David Densfree. Bueno, él nos va a explicar y le vamos a hacer una pequeña entrevista de Turok 3 que se ve un juego muy bueno. A ver.
Talk to him.
Hey,
Hello, how are you? Very good. Look, we know that Turok 2 was a very complex game. But what can you tell us about Turok 3? Well, I can start by telling you that Turok 3 is going to be the final part of the saga for Nintendo 64. We started this project taking into account all the problems that consumers had with the last game. So we were able to make the levels a bit shorter. We implemented a way for you to save your game where you left off so you don't have to start the whole game over. And another modality is more than 2 possibilities of characters for you to play. You can play with 2 different characters. And well, each character can have their own map so you can play, even with their own weapons.
That seems cool.
Wow, that sounds great. Well, I have another question.
How
How is this game in terms of graphics? What can you tell us about the Turok 3 frame rate?
Wow, it's very good.
The frame rate in Turok 3 is much better than in Turok 2. We, as I told you, started taking into account the biggest problems in the last game. And the frame rate was the priority to improve in Turok 3. In Turok 3, you can see the graphics very well with or without the expansion pack. So the resolution is as good as if you played it with an expansion pack.
I was thinking
about. Well, from everything you've told us about this game, which is the latest in the saga of the Turok series for the Nintendo 64.
on N64.
That's how it is.
Is there?
And well, I wonder, do you have any plans for the dolphin? Well, I can't tell you any of that. It's something very secret, excuse me.
Bueno, pues ya aquí estamos terminando la entrevista. Thank you very much. Y pues seguimos dando más entrevistas desde el E3.